to Semi-Woo. We in the studio today have one of our very closest, bestest friends of all time.
Yes.
Jessica Grotfeldt coming up from New York City.
Jessica Ann, right?
Jessica Ann
Apologies,
Grotfeldt.
Jessica.
Get it right.
We're already
What
having a
up,
fight.
Seattle?
Jess is a fellow Pistolani.
Of the Pistolani tribe, you guys have heard us
Yeah.
talk about. She's actually the pistol
She is
that
the
came to us in our
pistol.
vision.
Yeah,
Which
when
you
we
guys
did
have heard
LSD,
about on our other podcast.
Jess came up in our vision as somebody that had been doing some energetic healing for generations and generations and generations. And we get to have her here in the 2000s.
I know.
That's
right.
In her current
Present day,
incarnation.
in her
This
current
is how you
incarnation.
lured me into your web
We did.
through LSD and Joshua
What if
Tree.
it hadn't been an LSD trip? We just came up with a really elaborate plan to get Jess
Yeah,
to come.
like there's no way we're
visit
gonna get her
us
out here
this
from New
summer.
York. How are we get to our
It
friend to
worked.
visit
It
us
was
for
awesome.
6 weeks? So Jess, you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and
My
what you
name
do.
is Jess.
Yeah.
I'm an acupuncturist in New York City.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know you guys after living with you in beautiful San Diego during my graduate program.
Ah, yes, the crazy, difficult
Craigslist,
P-com.
baby.
Craigslist friends.
Yeah.
A lot of good girls
Thank
on
you,
Craigslist.
We actually, that's an amazing Craigslist story. You're the best thing that's ever happened to Craigslist. and me.
Absolutely. And we got a dope ass New York apartment. So to say that, it means a lot.
I know,
Yeah,
right.
you're
Really
the best
do.
thing Craigslist ever given
You're
me.
way better.
Yeah, no, actually, I've loved telling that story to everyone about the acid trip in the desert, and the video that you guys made me was very compelling. And so, how could I say no? I
Yeah.
love telling people that I came here because of an acid trip, and everybody just kind of gets a funny look on their face, and they're too scared to say.
Yeah,
it
like what are
sounds
you gonna
weird.
say? Like, oh, that's not. You can't. No,
It was
you're
a
not.
horrible idea.
Yeah, like, well, yeah. What can
I
you say
know.
to that?
Especially because at this point, you've been here 6 weeks?
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful
Amazing.
And
idea.
the best summer ever, actually.
It has been. It turned from best summer ever to best summer ever.
Yeah.
Certified.
Oh man.
And we're in our last few days
I
now.
know,
which
it's hard
is
to-
so
So
trippy.
sad. It's hard for me to even imagine being at home and like literally praying in front of my altar for best summer ever in my pitiful little sad voice. And then talking to you girls and you're like, you gotta come. And then now it's like, oh, it really
Like
happened.
manifested.
did.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of it. It ain't over. We got
No.
plans. We're going to Rainier tomorrow.
I know.
That's right.
It's crazy.
More nature
Oh,
time.
Rainier. So we've been. We wanted to tell you guys a little bit about where we've been this summer and camping, because at the beginning of the 6 weeks, none of us knew anything about hiking or camping in Seattle,
What
and
were
it
your
sounded
guys'
like
ideas of what the summer was going to be?
Gosh.
I thought it was going to be more like us kicking it in Seattle and dancing and then
Yeah.
maybe doing some.
Yeah, I guess
kind of
I thought us like going to the lake a
development stuff.
bunch, or like sitting in
Going to
Cal
like
Anderson.
sound baths and stuff
That's what I thought,
together.
too.
Yeah, going to some Seattle events, but then it just ended up being like we all needed nature,
Hardcore
like
natures.
hardcore nature.
Mm-hmm.
Which the city has beautiful nature compared to other cities,
Yeah.
but compared to the nature here,
Mississippi Moss, dude.
I feel like we dormiendos under the trees a lot. That's
Yeah.
exactly what
We
I
be
needed.
torpedoing under trees all the time.
yeah, we got some scrapes in the Rio here
Well, it
and
was
there.
cool. It all kicked
Yeah, I
off at
got
our
some
retreat,
scabs.
Mm-hmm.
and then the first camping trip me and Jess went on, I was sold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where'd you guys go?
Lake Cushman.
Oh baby, Lake Cushman,
Mhm.
Staircase Campground. It was very hard for me to admit this because we all have stories we tell ourselves. I'm a hiker, I'm a camper, I do all this stuff, but I have not hiked or camped since San Diego, which was
Years
6,
ago.
7 years ago.
Whoa,
6,
not
7
even
years
hiked?
ago.
Wow.
Not really.
Maybe
Yeah,
a
in
little
New York
bit
we
Phoenicia,
didn't.
New York, like some to
But-
the waterfall, like
Yeah,
you know what I
little-
mean.
See, I had
like
been
that one,
camping
though.
in
I'm bringing a purse,
Arizona.
you know.
I know.
So I was already deep into like the solo camping, but I haven't been able to go with anybody in a long time.
Yeah.
So it's been like really
Well, you brought the
nice.
knowledge and the vibe, because I kept all summer. I've been complaining to Amanda, like, I want to go camping. I want to do. She's like, just do it. I'm like, I don't know how. I could
don't know
not
how-
get the
I know.
gumption, like, to put together the camp box and the thing. And where do I go? And what do I? And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
car thing. You know, Amanda has this
know.
car that
Yeah,
wasn't there.
That was a blessing.
It's super
Huge.
overwhelming
Stagecoach.
too when you want to go. Should I go for a day? Some of them are 2 or 3 hours drive. Like,
Yeah.
how long do I go? And then you like, God forbid, you start to do internet research and you just want to blow your
I
brains
love
out.
that part.
And you
Because
love
there's
that
like
part.
I kind of like it too, but it's very unclear. There's the national park sites, and then those can be kind of
Yeah.
a nightmare. Then
Do
there's
you
like
need
people's
reservations?
blogs, and those
It's a
can
little
be
bit of
also
detective
old.
work. Yeah.
It's a lot of detective
It's a
work.
lot.
I sense this place is nice. That's how we found Staircase, which was right on the river, right in front of an incredible swimming hole.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Really beautiful.
Everybody wanted our campsite with our waving pussy flags.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jess made some pussy flags.
Goddess
that
camp
are,
out pussy
goddess
flags.
camp out style. Because I've had another goddess camp out with you. Jess does it right. So of course, when you come to town and you say let's camp, and from the day one, I was like, I want to do this all summer.
Yeah,
and I was a little bit talking
just
through
so
my ass,
pretty.
but we ended up camping all.
We camped
We
4
really did.
times.
we
Yeah.
did.
Big trips.
Deep camp
Deep.
outs.
Deep.
Yeah, and one of them was 7 days long.
Yeah.
Which we went out to Leavenworth, out to the enchantments, and we went to Ida Creek Campground. These are all great recommendations.
Incredible. Yeah, take notes, everyone.
And nary
Site
a
number
shower
10
was
was
had.
it number 10 that we had?
8.
No, grade 8.
8.
The grade
grade
eight.
8.
Grade
The grade
8.
8 at Ida
That
Creek.
was the best
Massive.
And
campsite
number
of the
4 at
summer.
Staircase. Everyone
Yeah.
should go to
Number
that
4.
one.
Don't be throwing out all the
shut your
writers
mouth.
dead.
Don't go to number 4.
There's about 28 people now
Yeah,
that
number
have
8.
that.
Number 8's a really it's a really shitty campsite. It's the size of about 5 campsites. It's on a river. It has a private beach. It's really terrible.
It's
A private
really
beach
bad.
under the stars, the craziest stars all 3 of us have ever seen in our lives.
Yeah.
Galaxy
the Milky Way.
style.
for
And
the
we've
first
all
time.
traveled extensively,
Yeah.
and this was the most stars, the
best.
most galaxies, the most shooting stars I've ever seen.
All because we couldn't have a campfire, which at first seemed
Right.
horrible.
Right.
Great lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
When you
Look
think
at the
something's
stars,
wrong,
guys.
you just have to go, I wonder how we're going to get around this. Because I was really disappointed. I'm like, oh, there's no fires. And then I'm
It's
kind
too
of like,
dry.
what are we going to do all night? You
Yeah.
think that. Luckily, in the summer, the sun doesn't even go down till 10, so you're fine there.
Right.
But any other time, if the sun goes down at 6:45 or 7, you do have quite a bit of time of just
Yeah.
darkness.
Yes, and it's so dark. It's like inky black
Inky
dark.
Yeah.
black. Yeah.
But because we didn't have a fire, we're like, oh, let's go look at the stars on this beach. Like, that'll be nice. And then we get out there, about blows our brains
Like,
out.
And normally we wouldn't do that. We're sitting around the campfire having a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Tending the fire, throwing marshmallows in, all the things.
All the
you
All the
do.
things you do. As you do.
As you do.
You throw in marshmallows and watch them grow into crazy
grow and
demonic
crawl.
creatures. All right.
Also make campfire cocktails. Let's not forget.
Oh, yes.
Jess
Jessica
is the
makes
queen of the
beautiful.
campfire cocktail.
What did you make? She made a gin, blackberry, rosemary, lemon cocktail that was
Yes.
insane.
Never before have I drinking such great cocktails and been so dirty. It was really weird. Like, not a shower was had in 6
No.
days, but I'm drinking this
It's
like
fabulous
delicious
craft
craft
cocktails.
cocktail.
Yes. I found out that even if you use 8 to 10 baby wipes on yourself,
Dirt's
you're
still
just
coming
still
off.
dirty.
That's a 2-shower situation. It took me 2 showers to get some
It
of that
did.
dirt
Some
off.
scrubs.
I think
Some
I just let
scrubs.
it ride. Thanks
know.
for being in the tent with me, guys.
I was proud of you for that.
There were some times after our hikes that I was like, "Oh, this car is so funky. It's just
What do
so."
you mean?
It was
And we
just
had a dog.
level 10 funky. On the
Level
7 day
7
one, it's like, luckily it's like if you bring a change of underwear and you're like, hopefully like cleaning
Did you change your underwear?
your vaginal
I did,
area.
girl.
You didn't change your underwear?
Of course I
Yeah,
changed
right.
I will say it took me like in the first 2 days.
Yeah.
That's when you have to start counting the lake days as showers.
Yeah.
You're
I
like, I'm clean.
It's
I put on another layer of deodorant.
whatever. It's
I'm
fresh
good.
water.
It's fresh
fine.
water.
Another
I
layer of
Scrubbed with a
deodorant.
rock. I did.
I
was like,
know.
I hope this helps.
In the morning, it's nice with camping if you just like your face is bloated and you look like this and you're like, "Ugh, what happened?" And you've been sleeping on a mattress that just feels like
Oh, my
you're in the
God.
7th level of blow up
Worse
hell.
than ground.
Oh my god! It's
That's
just
the
by the
next
morning, it's
level
like
that we
wow,
gotta get to.
whoa! You're touching the ground. You're oh my gosh! It just feels like. At night, when you first blow it up, you're like, "This is gonna be fine.
Wrong.
Well, you also have some craft cocktails in. You're like, this
Right.
is
Yeah.
actually
Yeah, knock
This is
yourself
really
out.
nice.
That's
I'm
part of it.
warm. It's totally cool." And then halfway through the night, you're like, "God damn it!" And it's just I actually lost my mind on the last day of the last camp out. You had already gone home, Heather, and I was just waking up I was like waking up from a nap or something when you guys had
Yeah.
already left. And it was like my mattress was flat and I was cold as shit and I'm on the ground. I can't find my shoes and I was like, God damn it! I was like, I can't. I'm like, I can't anymore. And the zipping was not zipping. And it was just the whole thing of like being on the ground, crawling out like a fucking fetus out of the camp
Like a
thing
bear
every
out of the
day.
cave.
It was too much. And I had talked to that lady the day before, the older lady who had the little guy camper, and her being like, we just had this moment camping, and it was raining, and the rain finally came to fly, and she's like, my husband, I just looked at him, and he goes, I'm done. I'm done. He's like, I'm done with tents.
I'm done with
And I was like, I'm done with, and I
You
was
know
done
you
with
love
tents
tent
5 or
life.
6 years ago.
Right.
There's nothing about tents. I don't like giant RVs
I don't
either.
like the
That
zipper.
also
Yeah.
takes
I
away
don't
from
like
it.
setting them up. I'm
The
good at
zipper,
it.
the height, you can't stand up. You can't. Everything's.
I don't know. I really think I'm part squirrel or some shit because
I could see that.
I
I'm
live
glad
in
you
the
brought
damn
your little
tent.
squirrel ass down here to
I
help us
know.
camp.
And Jessica, you can sleep
Seriously.
anywhere. Within
I can
minutes, she's
sleep
just
anywhere.
Like an
angel
Yeah.
sleep.
angel.
like
Just
a
so
sleeps like a
corpse
cute.
rock.
with a smile on
With
its
a
face.
smile. Wakes up early, goes to bed late. Like, you
Yeah,
know.
never
She's
gets
so cute.
hangovers.
Sleeps all, doesn't roll
my
around much,
superpower.
doesn't snore.
It is your superpower.
The power to sleep so beautifully.
I know.
It's funny because we all needed this nature reset
Oh my God.
for different reasons.
I
Like
know.
we've been using the power of nature the whole summer. And not just trees. Water. The Pacific Ocean. The sea stacks off the
Yeah.
Olympics. Rivers, lakes.
Another
These
amazing
lakes.
hiking.
Lake Crescent, holy
The
hell.
Lake Crescent.
That's something else.
Lake Crescent is magical. We even have some weird light orbs and flashing weird
Yeah.
things running
Animal
through our
features.
pictures.
Hey, what about the picture that you took with the weird UFO?
No,
thing
there's like a
flying through?
black
There's a UFO picture.
speedy UFO. It looks
Or
nothing like a
spirit
bird or an
guidance.
object. There was no birds there.
No.
No, there was no birds flying around. And it goes through my live picture so fast.
Yeah.
Faster than any, and it's
Black.
big. This big. I need to talk to someone about that. Who knows about this?
And this
stuff?
is like that thing. It's a Bible chapter, but it makes sense, or like a verse. Like whenever and I'm getting this wrong, but whenever two or more people gather in spirit, big things go down. And you've got these three pistol Annies hanging
Yeah.
out together, and things were going down.
I know.
Perfect campsites every time.
Yep.
Just ease and flow with all the things to get out there. Big energetic conversations between us that we needed to have.
Yeah.
Snakes coming out,
Snakes,
frogs coming out,
frogs,
deers
deers.
coming out,
Yeah.
fish
Confronting
coming
us.
out. I thought I saw a whale jump. I'm gonna count it. A whale came out.
I know. No, you did.
I
The
think
whale.
I did.
And I definitely felt spirits
Eagles
at Lake
swooping in
Crescent
front of
Place,
us.
for
Eagles,
sure.
ravens,
Ravens
hawks,
swooping in front of
blue
our
jays,
cars.
Right.
chipmunks like a motherfucker.
I
Yeah.
know. The
was-
frog and the
They came
snake in
to
the
us.
same
It was a
time.
big, like,
and,
pistol
there was so
celebration.
many animals.
Yeah.
And we didn't just see your energetic work that you've done for generations in our LSD trip. We saw this time together
Mhm.
that this needed to go down.
Oh my God, I needed this so bad. I've been like, I know I've always enjoyed such amazing close female friendships. And in the last few years, I've been like feeling like so spiritually and kind of energetically alone. Like
Yeah.
I was alone in the desert in Arizona for a couple of years. And then I moved back to New York thinking I was going to like immediately settle back into like this, other life I used to have with
Yeah.
lots of friends.
Uh-huh.
And it was hard. It's been like so lonely.
It didn't
so
go down like that.
not at all. So, but it was fine, and I really
Mhm.
love being alone and camp alone and do things alone. But
Yeah.
there was something deeply missing, and that was like this, communion with like your deepest and closest friends,
Mm.
and this incredibly beautiful place is really, it's giving me a whole new lease on life.
Mm.
Everybody needs to get out there and
Yeah.
connect, and not just with each other, but with nature,
With nature.
Yeah.
with yourself.
And slow down.
Yeah.
And
It's
just nature. It's so powerful.
Oh.
Even if all you do is sit and look at it.
That's what you
Yeah.
do.
You don't have to do
and it's enough.
That's what it slows you down to. It's like you don't have to do anything with it. I even forget that if I haven't been out in nature. I'm like, what do we do there? How do we?
Yeah.
And then the nature, right? How do we do
Stare.
with it? How do we
You
do we
sit,
do it?
You stare. You walk through it. You
Breathe.
touch
You
it.
look at
You
it.
breathe it.
You breathe it.
You use
You
your
swim in
five
it.
senses to know it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Touch the rocks.
Yeah.
I like to collect rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We got some
I
great
love
rocks.
looking
Look
for
for
We got that.
rocks.
And this summer also was the solstice. No, I always
The
call it
eclipse.
the
The
solstice.
eclipse.
The eclipse.
Oh my gosh, that was insane.
Oh my God. That.
Last night I heard
I
a guy
really
was at an
felt.
open mic and he was like, "Oh yeah, this old guy's like, oh the eclipse, and so yeah, I guess, the city went dim for a few minutes. I don't fucking whatever." I'm like, oh
dipshit.
my gosh, how did you not feel what was happening during that eclipse? Because even
Yeah.
crazy skeptical, materialist, atheist, whatever people that I know were like, something was happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That affected me. It affected me deeply. And people who have no interest in any of this
Mhm.
that I've
Yeah.
heard,
Right.
like zero interest in any woo energy, nothing.
Right.
Were like, it was a crazy energy. I felt it. It was strange.
Undeniable.
It was magic.
Man, it's
You know?
like the light, the time when we had the totality here in Seattle, like I've never seen anything like that.
No.
Even if you don't want to go on, it's our energetic, you don't want to go on that tip, it's something we've never experienced before.
And as
a
an
lot of us.
animal, think of all of the native peoples and how they would like follow,
Mhm.
astronomy. And then now, we are connected to the moon as women, and we're connected to the movement of all of these
Right.
planets. So to have our primary star and like sense of energy blocked out,
Mhm.
like as your deepest little like animal functions are
For, like,
clicking and like reacting, and like what does that even
absolutely.
do to us inside? I wonder.
And it gave me great respect for the sun because we had
Yeah.
92% totality and the sky was still lit
light.
up.
Yeah,
And there's
but in a
still
weird way.
warmth in a weird way and a light.
And all those weird
maybe we'll
crescent
never see.
shadows.
I know, the crescent shadows in your fingers. It was so cute.
So rad.
It was one of the trippiest. It felt like I was on a different planet.
Yeah.
It
That
did. I was
whole
like,
day.
I like realized I was on a planet. You know, it like
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
made me realize my place, like the earth and the sun and the moon, like
And
just
that
to
we're
like
moving.
recognize it for a while. I know.
Yeah, it's like this giant
We're
machine,
moving.
right? Like all of these patterns in the universe, and we're just all part of that. And there's
Yeah.
repeating patterns in your cells.
And it has nothing to do with us.
I know.
And it's happening.
We could just
Yeah.
be gone and
We're
it,
so
would still
unimportant.
happen. And
Yeah.
it always will.
Totally
It's
right.
nice to have a little, you're an unimportant reset. And it sounds
Yeah.
crazy, like I'm something, but no, it relieves so much pressure to have to be anything. We're
Anything.
just here to watch, observe, collect
Yeah.
some data, enjoy.
Appreciate
Enjoy.
and be in
appreciate
awe
and be in
of it.
awe.
I
There's
know.
already enough going on. I ain't got
That's
to add to
right.
this pageant.
But
But the fact that I do then is really fun because then it doesn't have to be anything but my contribution, my little contribution in my way
Yeah.
to like raise the
Right.
vibration of this beautiful thing.
True that.
And that's it, man. Last night I went to this at Velocity, which is a dance studio here in Capitol Hill. What up, Velocity? You guys are rad.
Mhm.
On Tuesdays and Sundays, they do this thing called Dance Church. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun because I like open dancing where it's just like be free and do whatever you want. And it's, there's no rules, like just express yourself. And there's a lot of freedom to that because people always with dance are like, I can't dance. I don't know how. I don't this or that. And you realize it's really just a series of floppings of your body to
Yeah.
music. That's all dance is.
Mhm.
If you can,
Pointless.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like if
Nothing
you go step to step,
but
if you
for
go
joy.
crazy, if you go on the floor, it doesn't
The
matter.
body's reaction to rhythm.
Yeah, the body's like movement. It's
But
like the
also so
movement of
primitive,
sound
right?
and the movement
So
of energy.
primitive.
Like
Yeah.
from it's so primitive and simple. So this dance church was amazing. There was like 90 people in this room. It was really sweaty and hot, and just we'd all like our energy would like collectively get higher, and we were laughing and holding hands. And I thought there was this
Great way
moment
to
where I was
connect.
like, and yet right now you could look at the world and be like, and the Houston and Trump and the God, and North Korea's shooting missiles over Japan. I mean, you could do that, which is it's all true. As
That
we
is
always said,
true.
it's all true. It's all absolutely true.
At the
There are
same
people
time.
suffering,
But at least for
massively.
now, you're in
For
this
now.
beautiful place connecting.
And that energy just being sent out to all of us when we all left, and we're smiling and hugging and
Yeah.
laughing, and we literally like spilled out onto the street, and I saw other like passersby, like kind of looking like, what's that? And
Yeah.
everyone's smiling. I mean,
You're
just that.
spreading
It's
it
like
to
if
them.
that's all I can do right now, like, I
That's
can
huge.
donate
That's
money to like to Houston
Huge.
to the relief, but I
Yeah.
can't in my own life physically go there right now and like help, right?
Yeah.
But like, so what can I do? Like a
Keep
little bit more
happiness
joy and
going.
Connect to
happiness, like in
people.
build and connect. Like then that's the balance. Like it's the balance of life, and not to just sit around. Or I could sit around in a coffee shop and talk about all the disasters.
Yeah.
And,
What's the
and it's
point,
like
really?
yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was just
There
kind
is
of a
this
cool
sense
thing.
of guilt though people get
I know.
in not putting all their focus on disasters that happen or tough things. It really and especially here in Seattle I see it the most. It's hard for people to enjoy
I know.
in the face of this other side of our life, which
I mean, I
is
think
the
the-
shadow side or darker things or lower
Or
vibration
just
things.
darker and having access to all of the information of every single thing and trying to process all of them.
The responsibility
The
of juggling the
responsibility.
But
world's
then the other
problems.
side is
Mhm.
like there's the Seattle like I got to be overly active, and then other people who are just like meh, I'm not paying attention at all. Oh well,
Yeah.
the world like burns around me.
And here's what's funny: I'm kind of one of those people, and I
Except
know
for you
what's
spread
going
love
on,
around you all
Yeah,
the time. You're not
right.
like a taker. You're a giver of light.
but it's
Yeah.
this thing where I read my NPR articles. I'm not totally in the blue, and I know what's going on with whatever, but it feels weird sometimes to tell people like I don't read the news or I don't want to talk about that or I don't. It's not
Yeah.
the sticky, and I haven't been able to kind of describe what it is. It's not sticking your head in the sand. It's not denying that it doesn't happen or
Right.
exist. It's not saying I don't care. Then what is it called?
I don't know. That's different to different people, and there must be some primal part of us that gets some sort of acknowledgement or pleasure out of like being informed. Because I sense it when people are like,
Right.
I just like to be informed, even if they're not doing anything. They're like, I need to know. I need to know all of it. I need to
I'm
watch
one
it. I
of
need
those
to
people,
talk
I'm not
about
gonna
it. I
lie.
like,
I'm
but-
informed.
yeah. But it's like there's a level of information, right? Like you could be more informed. You can always be more. You could
that's
spend
true.
your whole
I'm also pretty
day.
active politically.
You're active.
You're active.
And
That's
see,
different.
this
Than
is-
just,
and
that's
this-
different than just being
it's so
But
informed.
I'm
funny,
not
these
angry and like
degrees.
rah, and like
Right.
screw you. I'm like, okay, let's go to a higher elevated place where
Yeah.
we're helping each other.
And you do. Jess
healing
actually did
each other.
acupuncture in action
Right.
Yeah,
Tell
in
us
New
about that.
York. Tell us about that.
So that is a kind of like a happening kind of thing that I developed after the election because everybody was like so scared that I decided to do some fundraisers using sound bowls, healing sound bowls, and tuning forks, solfeggio tuning forks, and also with acupuncture. And so everybody would come into the room and we'd have a communal healing experience with somebody doing the sound bowls. And then I would put in a specific protocol of acupuncture points meant to elevate your heart spirit and to calm people down because everybody was like in this intense anxiety. And acupuncture is amazing for that. So I did these specific points and then I would come around and then use these tuning forks and put them onto other points of the body. And so you can feel these deep vibration like deep inside. And so there's all of this science behind like the healing of like different vibrations, and definitely Chinese medicine is all about that. So then I would donate the proceeds to, I did Planned Parenthood. I did the the New York Immigration Coalition. So I did a bunch of different ones, and it felt really good to actually do something.
Yeah.
And people were
Absolutely.
healed. I felt more healed, and
It's like
didn't
on all
feel
these
so out of
fronts.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
it was
awesome.
good, but I didn't want to be like, I went to the Women's March in D.C., and
Yeah.
that was really positive.
I wish I could have
and
done that.
I just wanted to do something positive.
Yeah.
Those are all
And
super,
be in that
super
community
positive.
of people that feel like you in a positive way. The Women's March was really positive.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also like, why I was also drawn to be here with you guys, because it's like, I need people. I don't want to be on an island. We all need each other right
I know,
now.
we do.
And we
a
have to
huge way.
connect. And like healing is a big part of the next step, I think, for our planet. And like, how can I heal anybody unless I myself am like nourished from within and healed?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like we're all like lacking a sense of connection these days.
100%. And I really
Yeah.
believe that at the end of the day, we're all just looking for understanding.
Yeah.
Not to agree with every point that I have. Not possible. Not our
possible.
perspectives are different as there are people
Uh-huh.
on the world, but just to understand that you're human and
Yeah.
I
To
get
be
you
heard.
on so many different levels.
To be heard.
To be
And
heard.
And it's funny, like we're super, super informed, but we're not connected.
Right.
Like we are. We're connected. Like you can get a hold
Electronically
of someone
connected,
anytime
energetically.
you
But also in an
Islands.
us against them sort of way. And I think what's more important is like the commonalities are actually more than our differences.
want. So much more.
Huge.
So-
A lot of times people vote on different sides for the same reason. Like they just see it differently.
Right.
I want to protect my family. This person's going to help me. This person's going to help
It's
me.
Yeah.
always the same.
But at the end of the day, we all want our
instincts.
kids to have great school
Yeah,
and,
we
and
just
be
see it a different
fed.
way.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants babies to die. Nobody wants someone to go hungry, but we think it can be carried out in all these
in
different ways.
And so we constantly seek out our differences.
Yeah, I think that's also part of our tribalism. But that's why I like these community healing events. Hey, speaking of community healing events, let's talk about our sound healing with Kate after the
was
eclipse,
awesome.
the day
Oh, man.
after.
This is all so many things this summer.
Yeah.
Kate Ryan, who
Yeah.
we had on the show,
Yeah,
and she
she
talked
was-
to us a lot about her journey with ayahuasca
And her like learning and going to school in Peru and what she's doing here.
She puts on amazing sound baths once a week at the House of Healing Sound,
Sacred sound.
Sacred Sound
Mhm.
in Ravenna.
Ravenna.
It was gorgeous. What a
She's
beautiful
incredible.
space.
Her voice is, she's a classically trained musician and singer. And her voice is just this other level. She sings different. She sings like ikuros. She sings like sacred songs from different traditions. She also sings some songs in English.
Yeah.
She plays the sound bowls incredibly. She drums.
Yeah,
she
the
rattles.
I think
like
there was
it's-
definitely a didgeridoo.
Was there?
I think so. So one of those.
Yeah, House of Sacred Sound has like amazing like gongs and drums, and it's this cool space. There's all kinds of different things like Kundalini yoga and meditations and all kinds of stuff that different
And plus, she was wearing that cool
practitioners.
thing. I'm obsessed.
The what?
Oh,
She was
her
wearing
white
that
veil.
I thought that reminded me so
veil
much
with the
of you.
fringe that covered her
Mhm.
eyes. I just love how she was talking about taking it to this other ceremonial, spiritual level, because I think if you guys ever read Joseph Campbell's Power of Myth, the idea of creating these ceremonies and rituals are something that we need as people to like mark times of your life. Like there was one, when young men would go out, and be by themselves and like prove they were a man at a certain
100%.
time. Or even like funerals or weddings, that's all still part of it. We need these things to kind of like signal to us like we're moving to a new world, we're doing something new. So that whole ritual after the eclipse was like I had some place to put those feelings. Wow, it felt really transformative. I think you guys also felt
absolutely. And I know that you, as an acupuncturist, have been saying, you basically have your PhD in this beautiful Chinese medicine. And yes, you could wear, you always say white lab coat, but wanting to add ceremony and a bit of shamanism to
because it has shamanic roots and we deal with
and
plant
the magic
medicine.
of it.
Exactly.
Like there's that magic lacking from Western medicine where it's like in order to be taken seriously it has to be clinical and detached
I need
like
letters behind my name.
Scientific
I need
only.
a waiting room. I need a survey to go out 5 minutes after you leave. There's certain things that make this medicine legitimate, and here are the things.
And Western also kind of looks at anything else like, well, that's just behind the times. And it pretty much does. Like it's like this is the newest one and the best one, and everything else is like just old and lame.
That's too woo-woo and like not real science. And that thing though with Chinese medicine is because we also work with like plants and plant medicine, but we're also dealing with like the psycho-emotional aspects of like disease and imbalance in the body. So that part is hard for people to swallow. It's like when I'm treating knee pain, like they get that. But when I'm treating, lower back pain that also has like this root in fear or like asthma or lung issues that are rooted in grief. Or like digestive issues that are rooted in anxiety or like depression. You know what I mean? Like there's all of these different connections in our medicine. And I want to kind of bring out the shamanic side out of the shadows because that's always been my interest in the medicine.
I know, it has. Yeah. And you have to continue to.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of do it. Like I've noticed that too. That was my lesson this summer was like, I kept being like, I don't know if I should get a drum. Like, maybe I have to wait for it to come to me. There has to be a teacher.
It has to be given to me by a guru on a
mountain. I
can't just get a drum.
Right.
Meanwhile, I go to this amazing place. It's like this guy who's like been doing it forever in Portland. And it did come about in a cool way. Like I had a friend that I knew from Ecuador and she had one and it was beautiful. I'm like, well, she has one. And, and then I ended up getting one myself. And it's beautiful
quite a
and
drum.
incredible.
It's like giving your spirit what it wants. Like my spirit wants to practice Chinese medicine in a more like esoteric shamanic way that's like more connected to beauty and ceremony. And
which is what you do
just have to do it. I'm like,
you just have to
all
do
the
it.
sense in the world if then there wasn't this backdraft of, but how am I gonna make money doing that?
That will make me illegitimate. I'll be making fools of all these other acupuncturists who are working in hospitals.
And they're gonna ask for my papers and my degrees and my who
I have all that stuff,
who'd you train with? I mean, you happened.
I got the letters.
You worked very hard.
I got the
for
letters.
that,
It was hard.
Yeah. But the basis of it, I think, is that fear of like people are gonna be like, well, who are you to do this?
Right.
Always.
You're not.
I think that
you're not from this line. You're not from this tradition.
True. There's a lot of haters out there.
Yeah. And when you're combining different traditions too, like Kate's doing, like all of us are doing, like we're combining Eastern tradition, South American tradition, Mexican
which
tradition.
Which is threatening to people who are from all the different ones. And Chinese medicine is definitely like, if you try to do like other like nutritional stuff or supplemental stuff, people will be like, well, that's not the medicine. But it's like if you're helping the people, what doesn't quite make sense.
People aren't just like I see your problems here, but you can only use Ayurvedic medicine. Right. You can't. You have to eat this cold food, even though your body would say you need this. I mean, it's again as varied as as there are people on the planet for healing.
Yeah,
everyone needs.
And combination. I think that's where we're getting in this next generation is like we don't want to have to choose one. Like, do you want to do shamanic or do you want to do Western or do you want to do Eastern? Oh, you're doing Eastern, then we're just doing Eastern. And if do you want to do this only from India? Okay, we're only doing Hindu.
It's
like
stifling.
It's way too. I'm like all those are just groups of people at a certain time who discovered a thing.
It's so funny that healing is now like diets. Like for a long time, like everyone was choosing their diets, and you had to stick in your diet so that even if you were like allergic to potatoes and you did the potato diet, I have to eat potatoes. It's the only way I can lose weight. And now we're like, well, that works for me, and that. In fact, this was like a camping theme. Like we summer, we were like all eat so differently,
different stuff.
Oh my God.
And like different stuff makes us feel different ways.
Yeah.
Each
But that's how
pistol is
healing is now.
individual.
It's like you don't just choose like I choose, Chinese healing or I choose Western healing.
Yeah.
It's like you choose what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying a bunch of different things is
And
how
just
you know what
trying 'em.
works.
That is
Like
right.
food. Oh,
I
I feel
know.
good when I eat this. I don't when I do that.
Yeah.
So try a sound bath, try acupuncture, try running, try your, don't try pills. I would say that. I actually would say, unless
Well, there's a time and
Yeah,
a place
actually, you know
for
what?
even that.
Yeah.
try
of course
'em,
there
and then come
is.
back to us.
But only if you're in a place where without symptom suppression, you can't continue on. Like if you're in a place with depression or anxiety where you're like, I have to control these symptoms right now or I will not be able to function.
Absolutely.
Yes, of
I will not
Please
be able
get
to go
some
to
help.
work. I will not be able to interact with anyone. Like if you're having those type of symptoms, that's where Western medicine shines, honestly.
Absolutely.
Is like dealing with like
and you
emergency
get your
medicine.
legs.
Yeah, but I
Christine
mean-
always say, if somebody hits me with a car, don't call up my
Yeah, don't call
my
us, don't
acupuncturist.
yeah, don't
Yeah,
call
please
us a
don't.
shaman
don't call
drummer.
Jess if you're
No.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Yeah, Western medicine is amazing with emergencies, trauma, like things like surgery, like
Yeah.
things that are like this needs to be dealt with. As far as like emotional and like you said, like the
Energetic.
emotional physical body and energetic and history and
muscular. Like I
Yeah.
have found now, I'm good
Digestive,
digestive. Like
Gynecology.
I use most of
Mhm.
Eastern medicine,
Yeah.
and then if I want to get like a checkup and my eyes
Yeah,
checked
get all
up
your
or
blood work
something, my
done.
blood work.
Naturopath.
right, exactly.
Yeah. And then a
Not even
naturopath.
then,
Now I'm going.
naturopaths. I know, which I want to do that too. Actually, I want to get all my like. There was a girl, and she took it way too far. That girl we knew that we met in South
Oh, yeah,
America.
yeah.
She had gone to a naturopath doctor in San Diego, and this girl was like riddled with anxiety in general, but she would channel it certain ways. So she had gone to this doctor who would tell you it was like a star system, so like 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars, 4 stars of like how allergic you are to certain foods. So basically everything was at least 1 star. Like 1 star was like, it might mess you up, it might not, but it's probably like won't do much. And then
Yeah.
4 was like, avoid it. You're probably gonna have something major, you
Yeah.
know, like a peanut allergy. If you had that, maybe a 4
Right.
star. So this girl had so many allergies, but like if you really started talking to her about it, a lot of them were like the 1 star where it's like, maybe.
I can
So
imagine.
she was like, no, this is like, I love talking about her because it's like a joke upon a joke. So she was vegan. Cool. She was gluten-free. She
Dairy
also
free.
did not eat beans
Oh.
or lentils or
Legumes.
mushrooms
Or
or
mushrooms.
onions or mint.
And she hated salads.
And people should go to a restaurant
She
in
would get
Ecuador and be like,
highly
I'm vegan, I
offended.
can't have any cows, no gluten, no this, no bread. And they would be like, we have a salad. And she's like, oh, I'm just going to eat some salad.
Was highly
Oh,
offended.
Lord.
Oh,
When
I'm not gonna be
literally
full
all she
off
could
a
eat was
salad.
lettuce and probably about 6 vegetables.
I think she could eat
Somebody to cook at home.
certain beans.
Oh, no.
But then she couldn't have garlic or onions. So she'd go to like vegan restaurants and they're like, we have this beautiful like
think
and then no, she couldn't yeah,
That's
there
what
was
scares
like
a lot of people away from
Yeah.
'Cause of her
naturopaths or
allergies.
Eastern medicine because they think they're going to get in there and someone's going to tell them like there's only one way to live.
Right.
It's this
Mhm.
woo-woo way. You can't eat your meat. You can't eat your cheese. You can't eat your
Yeah.
thing. You can't. And people get freaked out.
they do, yeah.
Diet is the hardest thing for people to change. In Chinese medicine, it's all about balance. So we're pro meat,
Mhm.
we're pro a little bit of everything in, moderation. But there are certain things, of course, they don't want you to have, like gluten isn't big for them or dairy isn't big for them. But they're like, have a little bit of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not like that.
And
which
that's
I
a
appreciate.
Chinese medicine would be geared towards people that are Chinese and their bellies work differently. And I've been learning
That's
that
also
lately.
true.
Yeah, and where
Where
you've
there's
grown
like
up
the
and what you've been
lactose
eating as a
intolerant of
child
certain
and
colors of
Yeah, from your
Yeah.
genetics.
Oh, yeah.
genetic
It's
stuff, right.
really interesting.
Which
and
is
it's
why
funny,
it's all you.
the foods that do the best for me are like this West African diet.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
really?
been interesting, absolutely, to learn some of those things.
Sure.
Beans and tubers and legumes and
Oh,
leafy
that's cool.
greens.
That's why I do
and-
so well
yeah.
with dairy. Fräulein Grotfeldt.
Yeah,
Grotfeldt.
Grotfeldt.
Eins
Churning
und
the
cheese.
butter and the cheese.
Eins und Brezelhaschen Munchenhausen.
Be careful.
Yeah, like cheese, like never. Actually, like dairy, like never fucks me up. If I eat
And
a
you're
bunch
German,
of
too.
ice cream,
Yeah.
maybe I'll fart
Damn
a
German
little.
bitches eating all that
That's it.
cheese.
I know. Yeah,
I
cheese
still
and
eat
dairy
it, but
don't.
y'all gonna have to live with what
Gotta
comes
pay.
the aftermath.
That is really interesting. But this is kind of what we've learned is this thing is like, and we all want so hard when we think we like know something or it's been good for us, like especially as like these pistols,
Right.
you want to be like, no, you need this, man. No, you need this. No, you know, and that's why we made these rules where we're like, we made like
The
our
pistol rules.
pistol
Yes.
rules where it's like, unless someone's dying on the side of the road or specifically comes to you and says like, please help me with this thing, We don't
Keep your
offer.
mouth shut.
We don't offer
And that
anything
that
but
goes for
compassion.
advice.
everybody. That's an
Definitely.
interesting one. And when you
Mhm.
guys told me that, I was like, absolutely. This is what
Yeah.
I want to
It's
strive
tough
for.
to do because
Yeah.
we love doling out advice. All of us.
Yeah.
And we're healers,
Something
you know,
helps you
we're
feel
all
right.
helpers,
Mhm.
and
Right.
we're confident people. So we want people to feel better.
Yeah.
So you would go to someone and be like, I think this could help.
Yeah.
But what is that?
I'm getting better at that.
I know.
Like, people just come into my office for that advice.
That's why we got to
Right.
set up our
Friends, I
damn
don't dole
offices.
it out like that. And especially with you guys, that was awesome. Just to be like, we're all individual. We're just doing our thing, but like within complete acceptance and love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was actually the first time I think I've ever really truly experienced it. It was really helpful to me because, sometimes it's hard to express like displeasure or whatever it is, but when you know that you're approaching somebody who is like going to totally listen
Yeah.
and may not agree, but also just do it in like such deep love,
Yeah.
that was transformative
Mm.
for me. That was
Me
maybe
too.
one of the biggest things I got out of this summer was just total self-acceptance because of the reflection of love that I had from the two of you.
And because I knew it was going to come back,
Wow.
that the more I accepted you
Mhm.
guys, and the more, maybe I got the M&Ms, and maybe it would be weird, but I'm like, I want it. And then I knew
know.
that my friends would be like,
It's okay.
whatever,
Whatever.
or
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It was
Or just
beautiful.
like it's like the things where we know that like even we in our acceptance it was like I know this isn't good, still doing it.
Still
Yeah.
You know, it's
doing
like
it.
one of those like I'm not saying that yeah, you guys, for Amanda, ice cream and pizza is actually really healthy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Right.
that. I'm saying like I want it.
I want it.
And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's not even it's
And
like
at the
the
end of the day,
acceptance of like
well,
I
yeah.
know that what I'm doing isn't perfect. Like you weren't saying like my diet's perfect and you weren't saying nope, mine is. We weren't trying to prove to each
No.
other that what we did was perfect. We were trying to prove that it's like it's
This
what
is
we
the best for me
wanted.
right now.
Right.
And what I
Yeah,
want.
just desires and what we wanted
Just
to do for the
desires
day
even.
and
Yeah.
what we didn't want
Yeah.
to do. And I learned so much about myself. I'm so much
You
more
do
calm
when
now.
you start releasing or start accepting others, because
Yeah.
you just have to start accepting like, well, okay, now that I have all this freedom in this group here
Yeah.
to do
Uh-huh.
whatever the hell I want, what
Yeah.
what would I do? And a lot of times I realized I was making decisions to be like, well, what would they want to see or what will they think? And that was so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, should I do this thing? Well, what they'll think that. And I'm like, whoa, weird. I got to do it for you. like, or not.
But
do it
also
for
the
you.
balance of a
Yeah.
group where it's like if 3 people want to do 3 individual things and,
And
they're
then-
all like
and then you're
speaking their truth,
compromising.
then you're
Yeah.
compromising.
Yeah.
And that's always the
But
balance.
compromising and be like, I am compromising, so I'm not going to be like, me later on.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Not bringing that up. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Or also for me, it was total acceptance of you guys was like, I could see what my hangups were so much more clearly.
Me
Same.
too.
I was like, oh, I'm triggered in this particular moment to feel like cranky about it, or I feel like self-righteous, or like whatever it is, or they're making me feel this way. I'm like, actually, they're not making me feel anyway. I feel this way because
It's
of
a
something
terrible
else.
moment when you realize it's on you. I hate it.
Oh, man, I hate it
Awesome.
too when you realize that your feelings they're your own
Yeah.
and no
I'm
one
like,
can
I did this.
actually make you
No.
feel. God, I hate that one. It's a tough one.
It's
That's
a
one of the
tough
toughest
one,
lessons.
because it doesn't feel that way, but it is
Yeah.
really
Because
that
it's easier to
way.
blame someone else. It's so much easier to be like,
It's
they made me do
lovely.
this,
They
or
made
they
me
felt
feel
like
this
this.
way.
That's
It's like,
great.
actually,
Yeah.
that was my crap that I drug into
Yeah.
this and like.
And again, someone can
bother
be
myself with.
manipulative and crazy. Like
People
if
can
someone's,
gaslight,
in
people
your
can
corner,
manipulate.
right? Yeah, if
Yeah.
someone's in your corner telling you that you're a ugly piece of shit, like they're probably making
But
you feel
that's why
bad.
in a group like this, where
You
it's
know,
nothing but love,
Right, then it's like we're
and
not.
we do love each other, and we do want the best for each other, and we never try to hurt each other, then you can't. Then it's like, well, damn.
Yeah.
I know.
They really aren't. I mean, we
And
can be
sometimes we're
unconscious
even doing it in
sometimes
our-
and do
in our
something we
wrong
don't know,
ways,
but
right.
it wouldn't be for hate. It wouldn't be to fuck
Yeah.
someone over.
No.
No.
So then you're like, oh.
I know, and we're doing it sometimes for our own boundaries, but like we don't know that it may come across different ways. Like I have to do this for my own boundaries, but it may come across as to someone else as like being a bitch or being
Yeah.
to this because maybe they don't do it that way. So then the
Yeah.
person's like, "Well, you're being a bitch," and you're like, "No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm being
that's
me."
not my
But like you
intention.
wouldn't necessarily do it that way. So to you, if you did that, you would be being a bitch. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like when we do that,
Yeah.
where it's like, "Oh, I wouldn't."
Yeah.
I've noticed that with people who like actually can just like kind of say what they feel, and you're like, dang, like, or you'll think like, wow, like, why are they being rude or mean or whatever the
Right.
thing is you think, and then you realize like they're not doing it from that spirit, and you're like, that's just how they talk.
Because then if they didn't say what their truth was, we'd say, wow, they're really passive aggressive.
I
There's
know.
obviously something going on and they're
Yeah.
not saying it. You know what I
I
mean?
can tell.
That's
blah,
the
blah,
flip
blah, but
side
you,
of
you
that.
can't tell.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I liked about our time. It's like not assuming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I can tell that you're da da da. This is how you were feeling. I'm like, actually, I wasn't. it was
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
Like total honesty
Mm-hmm.
has also been very helpful. 'Cause
And-
it's like I can't. Always love to pretend like I know what people are thinking.
Oh, same. Oh,
I
And
know.
I'm like,
that's a woman
I
thing.
don't.
That's feminine energy too.
I know, it is.
Yeah, I can tell. But that is part of the way
Yeah.
that women have coped and that way we've evolved by
We're
being able to read the
sensitive.
room,
We're
right?
sensitive.
Right. We're
right.
sensitive. Yeah.
And this is why the other day, you know, we woke up and we had a tough morning. We were hot and had bad nights of sleep, and we were all feeling a little bit razz. You know,
Yeah.
you have family in Houston. You're hearing this
they're
bad
going
news.
Right.
through
You know,
times.
we haven't slept for shit. We're trying to go on a float because we kept on pistoling and
Yeah.
having
I
fun.
know.
And
I
we
needed that.
recognize this isn't. We're there. It's a high tension moment. No one's feeling that great.
Yeah.
Or we have a job to do. You know what I mean? Like we all have to kind of get things together. And we don't need to like put on Mariah Carey and
Right,
sing it
and
out and
everyone
hug it and be like,
laugh.
what's going on here, you guys? We all recognize it's just this moment to let it pass. And like
Yeah.
to watch our tones and be as respectful as
Yes.
possible and get what you need to get done and with as little
Yeah.
bit of, you know.
And that's like masculine energy too.
drama.
Like we're going, pack the lunches,
That
do the
was some
thing,
beautiful masculine
fucking whatever,
energy.
and then just
Yeah.
like stop feeling feelings for a minute and just do the thing.
Yeah.
Or
get it
just
done.
like let the feelings ride.
Be.
It's not a bad thing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hit your peaks and valleys sometimes.
Yeah.
Or to feel sad or have like weird
Yeah.
feelings. It's like, well,
I just have them.
everybody's feeling a little fragile, and then we made our way to the river, and it was like, okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
exactly
The minute
what
we
I
get,
needed.
we put our butts down with a beer. And
I know, it's nice. But when we are feeling sad or fragile or like in a weird state, like generally, especially with women and stuff, like, and being like heroes, like we want to do something to change it. Like we
We
want
don't
to
like
make
it.
them
It's
feel better, make
hard
them
to
feel
sit
better,
in
make them
that.
feel better, and
Hard
you're like,
to.
and then that ends up backfiring because the person's like, I don't want to feel better right now.
Yeah.
Or you feel like it's on you. Like I was feeling like, oh God, I should be happier, or maybe I can turn it up or whatever. I'm like, that would not
Gosh, we
be
put
real.
so
And these
much on
bitches would know in 2
ourselves.
seconds
Yeah.
that I'm trying to
Right.
feel a way that I don't feel. When I just need to incrementally. That's how it's supposed
That
to
is.
happen. You
Yeah,
do the
go
best
up
you
the
can
scale.
until you're at a different vibration.
Right.
You don't
Also just
try and
sit
leap.
with you and be like, oh, you're having a bad day, instead of trying to fix it and be like, try to say some pithy thing to be like, it's gonna be okay, or it's
okay.
da da da.
Oh,
Like
that'll
actually,
turn
that's
me.
the worst.
That'll
And we've all hated that
burn
since
me.
we're children.
Sometimes
Like
it's
even
like,
when our parents
that
do that and
just
you're in a bad
sucks.
mood and they say that, like, turn that frown upside down. You're like, why don't you go fuck your frown? I'm
Yeah.
about to turn your face
Turn
into
your
a
fucking
frown
frown
face
upside
forever with
down.
my clown
put my fucking
spear.
foot in
something.
your
Oh
mouth.
my God.
But yeah, when someone tries to get you way too high, and that's the natural thing, right? When you're feeling low, it's like to get you like
Yeah.
over the moon, and you're like, I ain't even trying to like.
You need a process.
I
Makes
need
you
a
want to push your friend in
process.
traffic. Be like, well, why don't you go away? Then I'll
Yeah.
feel better. Now I'll feel better if you get hurt.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah, that was interesting. So we did run into, we had a few, we didn't have, I wouldn't say we had some run-ins with the law, but we did have some run-ins with self-expression, I would say this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Amanda has learned a few things
Yeah, some local
about
laws, some federal
myself,
laws.
and this has been one of my biggest,
Federal
God,
laws.
the balance. This guy, Chris, we met, this artist at the beginning of the summer, said this really cool thing about balance. And he said, people think that balance is like this tightrope, right? And you get on it and you're like, I'm going to be balanced. And so you're like, can't go that way. And so it's like this insane, like when you're balanced, you're on it. And he's like, balance is when you go here, and then
Yeah,
you go
swing
low,
from side
and
to
then you go
side.
high, and then you stay there. Like you're balancing like your highs and your lows and your feelings. It's not about like
It's
staying in
overall
this
average.
Mhm.
yeah,
In the moment.
bigs and
Yeah.
times.
It's
so
not a destination overall that you need to stay at.
Yes, it's
in
not- it's
any
not this,
different
like-
situation.
yeah, like when I eat this
finding
way,
the-
I am balanced. When I sleep this amount, I am balanced. It's not like this state of being. It's like balancing all of your everything.
Talking about booby balancing? What's
Well,
happening?
no, the reason that made me think of balance was like that I was feeling not like this, like with, okay, so for example, this summer, like I always was like, you know what, I like swimming topless. It feels better. I hate my bathing suit top. It digs into the side of my boobs. The straps are annoying. I have to keep readjusting my boobs so they're out, but
Water
not too
on
out.
skin
Yeah.
feels incredible.
Water on skin feels
Yeah.
great as it
More
does on your
natural.
legs and your tummy and every other part of your body.
Yeah.
And it just feels natural. And so, but the balance was like, I had to, when I was first doing it, it's like, it feels like I'm being radical. I'm being
Right.
provocative. I'm doing it on purpose. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it to,
I'm going to put my boobs in your face.
yeah. And like,
Yeah.
that's
Using your
so brave.
secondary sexual organs. If that's the.
Go fuck yourself with that. They're not.
Yeah.
Everyone has an areola, breast tissue, and like everyone has the exact same parts, like in
Yeah.
different amounts.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which I loved
end of
about your
story.
post on Instagram about, which I did not know about, how there was the uprising in Coney Island with the men taking their tops off.
In the 1930s.
That was
it
brilliant.
was illegal for men to have their tops off, and 4 men got arrested in Coney Island because they're like, it's hot and we want to.
Yeah.
And then there was a group of men, like 42 men who were also in New York that
Atlantic City. Did you
Atlantic
say?
City, yeah, in Atlantic City, who were just like, no, we want to do this. And because of that, they changed the laws and they changed social consciousness. And no one would ever, I bet you if you asked the average person on the street, like, how long have men been able to go topless, they would be like, oh, whenever they want.
Yeah.
They wouldn't think that it was
Yeah, in
only
public,
70,
yeah.
80 years ago
Right.
that it
Crazy.
was illegal.
And they changed their
and people
laws.
were getting
Yeah.
arrested. You
And
know, so
yet-
it's like, okay, so so therefore things change. And but so like like a few days ago when we were camping, I was at Lake Crescent and I was like, I'm gonna take my top off. And,
Yeah.
but the funny thing is, no one ever cares. The kids
No.
don't care. The parents don't care. No regular citizen
There
has
was
ever.
murmuring about boobies out.
There's always going to be
you
a
can
murmur
look
when a
for
body
few
part
seconds, and then
comes
it's like I always say, like you look at it, they're there, and then you're like,
It's like the solstice parade. Everyone's tittering about the penises
Yeah.
as the first bikes
Yeah.
come down the hill, and then you're like, all right,
once
let's
you
get to
there's
the
not
parade.
much more
Yeah.
to
Suck a
think
dicks and
about it. Like
boobs.
once you have a thought, you're like,
Actually,
there's
boobs are
boobs, and
so
then you're
benign.
like, how many more thoughts can you have about it? Like there they are.
Yeah.
That's it.
Here
That's
they
all you
are.
can
Yeah.
think.
It's because they're used as marketing tools. I think
I
that's
know.
the problem.
Right.
And then that's a part of taking back this like Free the Nipple campaign is about
Yeah.
like don't sexualize me then. It's like, oh, they're
Yes.
sexual, they're sexual. Like
Stop sexualizing
it's not
the
my
breast.
it's first of all, you're like a cisgendered man. So
Yeah.
a lot of gay men don't consider boobs sexual. Or actually gay men are just like doing doing doing. They think they're like these fun weird things.
Yeah.
So like no, they don't have to. They can be. Also can shoulders,
As
also
can
can
be
legs,
butts,
also
Yeah.
can
eyes,
feet,
mouths.
eyes, mouths.
I mean,
Mouths
God.
can also
There's a
eat.
fetish for
Honestly,
everything
actually.
now.
There is.
Every
No, just
single
everything
body
can
part.
be sexualized.
Yes. Yes.
And actually, I've met quite a few men who are like not that into boobs, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, guys always go on about boobs." They're like, "I don't know, like they're there, and I like them, but they're not obsessed with them." But there are guys that are obsessed with like hot legs,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and like hot, like ooh, this girl's lips and whatever.
But I feel a little bit like this is like the American version of like having to wear like a head covering
It's
or
a
you know what I
burqa.
mean? Yeah.
It feels that way.
It's both
It's like-
over crazy sexualized culture, but like also the puritanical
Like,
like
they
cover
can't trust
everything.
And the
themselves
guy,
if your
so
tits are out.
the guy that kind of
yeah.
runs one of the docks at this lake.
Yeah, he
asked-
runs the dock. He
asked you
just
to put your
yelled at me. He's
top
like,
on.
"Hey, you can't be topless out here." He's an old white dude.
Yeah,
Ah.
from
And I was
far
like,
away.
"Oh," and I was like, "Actually, in the state of Washington, you can. It's a law." And so I just didn't put my top
he
on.
called
He's
the
like, "I'm gonna call
fellas.
the park ranger." I was like, "Okay." And luckily, my girls were there for me, and they're like, "We got you." And so the park ranger pulls up in his boat, and I've never seen someone so nervous in their life.
Dang.
Poor guy. He's like, "Can you come out of the water?" And I come out, and my top's off, and I'm standing there with topless in front of him, and his whole body and his jaw and everything was just shaking, like intensely
Aw.
shaking. And he was very sweet. And he's like, "Man, you're standing on federal land and under federal law. Federal law says that if anyone here finds it offensive, nudity, that you can be arrested." So, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Like I didn't know that. That's interesting. Is the national park is federal jurisdiction?" I was like, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
I
that
had no
makes
idea
sense, but
because
I didn't
there's
know
a
that.
lot of
Right.
different federal. I'm like,
And I was like, a lot of
weed
people
illegal?
be smoking weed up on this federal land.
Uh-huh.
So.
Well, then there's signs also about that. There's signs at a lot of the
See, we were breaking a lot of
campgrounds.
federal laws
Yeah.
then.
Wow.
Yikes.
I don't
A
know.
lot of them.
I'm no law.
So then he goes, yes, ma'am. He repeated it again. I said, "Oh, I'll go put my top on," and I did, and then he walked away, and he was like, "Thanks," and that's all
Yeah.
there was.
But what I
to that.
regret was not
Saying that
calling
it-
the cops
yes.
again and saying that I was then offended that all the men, every single man on the beach had their top off.
Yeah.
including some with quite a large amount of breast tissue.
Yeah.
Bigger boobs than I've seen in a lot of my friends.
Tops I didn't
Yeah.
want to see off.
Tops
Tops
I
I
didn't
didn't
want.
wanna
Yeah,
see
is it
off.
about that? Is it about like that it's you don't want to see it and it
Yeah.
offends you?
Yeah.
Because you're right. So can you arrest them if you
If I'm
find that offended?
federally by law, they have to put their top on. If I care,
Yeah.
which is a crazy law to begin with. If
I
someone
know.
else cares about what
If
you're
someone else
doing, they can
cares,
shut
you
it
can be
down. What other things can
offended.
people shut down in my life?
I know. What else can I be
Well,
offended
that's a little
by,
scary
actually,
as
to get
well.
It
someone
is
arrested?
scary, and there are a lot of things actually.
And that's
Yeah.
not clear at all. It's not a clear delineated.
And I
Someone,
think the
someone
person
says
It's
it's
just a hot
offensive.
tell
button
you.
topic for our society. It's like our gynecological stuff, our birth control, our boobs being out, abortion. I mean, there's
It's
a lot
this
of rules
last
for
whiff.
women specifically.
Interesting.
Very specific,
Not
and
a
that's
lot
what
for men,
that's what
you know.
happened.
I think they should have to march the person that's offended over to you, and they should have to tell you face to
To your
face
face.
why
Why.
it's offended. Oh, you get to hide behind the damn park ranger.
Yeah, true that.
Oh yeah.
And why don't you go
wonder who it
away?
was.
Why don't you go away and not be offended?
Are you
Right.
going to talk about your other thing with Instagram?
Oh, real quickly. So I posted this picture. I flashed the statue of a Sasquatch.
Which was awesome. I took the
in
photos.
Port Angeles. It was
Beautiful,
hilarious
very
and fun and
tasteful.
It was
light.
a very sweet
And I
picture.
found out, it was a actually very sweet picture. And I found out a few days ago it was like National Go Topless Day, which was in support of Free the Nipple and all of these things that I actually truly totally believe in. And in Washington and New York State and a few others, there's actually 37 states in the U.S. where women can't be topless.
Yeah.
And so I read the story about the men protesting and changing consciousness, and I was like, that's what I like doing. I like changing consciousness and changing rules that are stupid. And this one's real gender specific, super gender specific, only to women. I was like, it's totally unfair.
So you're like,
So someone in my family, my poor mom, she doesn't even look at the internet. She calls it the computer is the internet. And someone in my family, she won't tell me who, specifically sent her this picture because they know that she's like a very innocent, traditional woman. Christian, whatever.
And that to get to you,
to get to me,
that your mom would be the one that would get to you.
yeah. So she was really disappointed, and I raised you to be a modest woman. I just don't. She just I could not. I can't understand. I just can't understand why you would do this. And I tried to inform her. My mom's not very much like a critical thinker. Like she doesn't really like to know why she thinks things. Which is like, I've always wanted to know, like, why do I think this? Why do I feel that? She just feels it, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
So no matter what I said, she, they're meant for your husband, and and I was like, Mom, I'm
real
35.
And then didn't
Do you
she
think
ask
I've
what
never
Heather
had
thought about
sex?
it?
She
Religious
goes,
cups.
what would
Your
Heather
friend's
think?
husband?
And I was
Like,
like, oh, my best
We all take
friend
the
who was
pictures
there.
for her.
Right.
What?
But it was
And go
fun.
topless myself.
I know.
From time to time.
Yeah. And I was like, it was just funny to me. My mom thought that was like that. Up
Yeah.
until that moment, I had been this very tight-shirted, modest woman. I was like, have you heard
Above
anything
reproach.
I've done?
Yeah.
Have you seen my
Of
Grow Out
course. I
Your
love that
Pussy
phrase.
Bush
Guess
video?
who have not heard our podcast or seen any
or
of
seen
our
any
comedy,
of my comedy,
or
or
been
seen
with us
anything
for a
I've
period
ever done
longer than
creatively.
4 hours.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, the shitty part is like, it's not really a photo like we would all want our parents to see.
Of course not. That's true.
But not because it's against your values. You just like, you like a little secrecy.
And there
about
comes
your
a time in
sexuality.
anyone's
parents.
life
Yeah.
where they, well, we would hope, where they become themselves, regardless of the people around them.
Yeah.
And that picture was done for a cause. It was done with joy. It was done with pride. It was done with taste. It was done for all the
With a
right
porn shot.
reasons. So
Right.
it's like this person being offended. If it offends you, go away from it.
Right. And
I
which was your
know.
post.
Don't shut me down.
And why does it offend you? So
And that was my
you're,
whole
like,
post.
trying
Why
to bring
does
up a
it?
whole
Like
discussion
it's
around
like
it.
think
putting
for
the
4
top back
seconds
on.
about
Yeah.
why it offends you and why men. Or I go, Mom, are women who've had like double mastectomies who have no breast tissue, are they allowed to be topless? And she's like,
No.
I don't know. I was like, well, think about these things. Are men with large breasts? And she goes, well, they should put on tops too because they're disgusting. I'm like, okay, so only non-disgusting people
Sorry,
can
Jen.
take their
I know a lot
tops
of
off
people.
now? I know. And it's like, it's just and also girls, I've noticed this like over time, like girls with larger breasts and girls with smaller breasts have had very different
Yeah. It's more lewd. with
it's
the
more
big
lewd, and it's just like, and I'm like, it's just like, it's not actually, that picture was very unsexual, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it wasn't, it was
No.
like silly, lighthearted,
Yeah.
me,
And
it was
once
me.
It's there. It's like now it's there. Now, okay, you've
Yeah,
seen
it's like,
my
what else
boobs.
can you
Yeah.
say
Like, who
about
cares?
it? Yeah,
Come
you've
on.
seen my skin. I wasn't doing anything sexual, pornographic, erotic. It wasn't even erotic. It was nothing to do
No.
actually with sexuality at all.
I've seen more erotic pictures of people with tops and bottoms on.
Yes.
Way
That's
more.
very
erotic.
true.
Posing sexually with
Yeah,
full
exactly.
clothes.
Absolutely. That's
And
very
that's
lewd.
fine.
And
You know,
that's
good
the
to
fine.
go.
Sports Illustrated
Yeah.
swimsuit
No,
model
good to go.
stuff.
And
Let's
another
show it.
girl
Some of
was
these
saying
yoga poses,
too,
I'm
like,
like,
the
ooh, I'm
crazy
getting-
thing in America.
Ah!
I know that
Sorry,
this girl who did the Free the Nipple thing, she was saying that, by the time someone's like 12 years old, they've seen 200,000 acts of violence and like
Yeah.
horror. That's totally fine, but you show a nipple and you get an NC-17.
And
Or
wouldn't it be
vagina,
nice to
forget
see
that.
breasts in a good light, finally, and not knocked around on some crazy porn set or some woman
Exactly.
trying to sell something, but in a really light, fun way that's women run, that's
Women
women
run.
And also
decided.
non-sexualized, like what we're talking about, like
Yes.
titty hair don't care, pussy
Yeah.
hair don't care.
Right.
Just
you know what I
swimming
mean?
and being
Some
in nature
real
and your natural.
GD classic boobs.
Just leave me alone for
Just-
a hot second so I
just-
can enjoy
yes.
a swim.
Yeah.
Yes, leave
How
my
about that?
body
Right.
and my like, if I'm sexual or not, alone for a second so I
Yeah.
can be in water.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nature.
Please.
Healing with my
Nature.
fucking girlfriends. You creep.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, right. No,
This
I
is a
know.
big shift for women right
is a
now, and I
big-
think it's a great time to be having this discussion
Absolutely.
because we're finally being like, you know what, we're tired of all of these like
Tired.
boxes. I'm
Yeah.
not able to be in a box. No one should have to live in a box.
Right. And also, it's not for you.
Yeah.
It's not for.
It's not for you.
That's
it's
what they
for
don't
me
like.
to enjoy
That's what
my
they don't
swim.
like.
It's not for you to freak out and have to shield your eyes and fight with all your emotions about looking at me like I'm a fuck job. That's on you, boo.
Right.
True that.
Like objectifying me and like, wait, boobs is for sex. Boobs is for when I grab them and I'm
children.
fucking
And it
you.
seems like the underlying thing is, so I can't really be responsible if something horrible happens to you because like now you're kind of like rolling the dice with your safety by having your boobs out.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
well,
That's
because
how
we
I
all
feel
know that
about
every
it.
rape victim has been completely naked when they were raped, right, guys? Right, everyone?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And think about it this way, too, of like, okay, say you're in like a kickboxing class, right? And you wear like super short shorts and you're like, my legs are being used right now for like strength and for movement. And later that night, you get dressed in something sexy and you go out with somebody and you're like literally like touching your leg and like using your leg in a like an erotic sexual way. It's the same leg. It's the same part of your body, but you get to choose like at what time it's being used for what.
Yeah.
And I really do think that any part of your body, and including your mind and your eyes and everything, can be sexual and sexy when you
100%.
want them
Hair.
to be.
Hair.
Forget it, dude. That Pantene stuff. I'm like, that gives me a boner, and I'm not even a man.
Herbal essences.
Yeah. I think it is about women taking back, like, I can be sexual when I want. I can also not be when I want. And any part of me can be sexual if I choose. And it also doesn't have
Just like
to
you,
be
homeboys.
just
And with
like
some respect.
you.
Are we?
My mom's like, well, men's chests aren't sexual. And I was like, are you kidding?
Sucks for your dad.
Hey.
I was like, a
like
good
a nice chest.
man's chest and like
I'm more
pecs
of a
are
butt
like,
person myself.
oh,
I am. I'm an ass woman. If
Butt
I had
legs,
to.
butt legs.
I love chests. I love chest and shoulders, and actually, like
lats.
backs.
Oh.
Oh, forget it.
If we're
When you
gonna
can see it-
sexualize it,
Hey,
let's
we're
take
gonna-
a list
if I
out,
feel like you
gentlemen.
guys-
Justifying now.
Them booties.
lifting forearms.
Right
Women
here.
love men's
Oh my
forearms.
God.
Forearms are so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Can you
better-
arm
they better
wrestle
cover
me?
'em
And then
up.
you're like, I lost.
I'm too
Ay,
competitive.
ay, ay.
Jess is out there trying. It's like 2 hours, and she's like, no.
This bitch.
Just wanted to see your
Power
sexy
struggle.
forearms.
Oh God! When you're a 6'3" woman, you have to take the take it where you can get it.
Yeah. I'm like a small little white lady.
Little white. I love Jess's voice of like, no one's listening to me. I'm like, but you a crazy ass pistoling bitch. So I'll come on, fucking motherfucker, I'll choke you out. I'm about to
Exactly, gotta
choke. I'm about
watch
to
the
choke
little
this
one.
bitch out. Oh my
man,
God.
what a
It's
summer.
been
I-
really fun. Thank you for letting me go through that and like because there was
Yeah.
times where I'm like, maybe I am doing this to be, and I am a provocative
Yeah.
person, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But it was like I want to do it, and maybe it was all
See,
of
but
those
that was
things.
also good for me and my control stuff because I was like, I don't know, I don't want Amanda to get into trouble. But then I was like, no, fuck this. I'm not doing it, but I'm going to support her because she, wants to do this for a good reason.
And you
like,
believe in women's rights. And
Yeah.
you've been fighting for
but
them.
didn't
I
have to
know.
like my goody two shoes meter. I'm like, I don't want to get into trouble meter was about to go on. I'm like, nope. This whole summer is about supporting each other. I'm like, what means something to the other person, and it doesn't have to blow back on me. It's not like a reflection on me.
Mhm.
I don't know. It got a little
And
deep
it
for
brought
me.
up, I was like, of course, the first thing I said was, oh, we're getting in trouble. Oh,
Yeah.
her boobs are
Yeah,
out.
I
And I
know.
go,
In trouble, trouble.
what voice is that? I need to come face
Yeah.
to face with this voice because this doesn't fucking sound like Heather right now.
Exactly.
Right.
Whose voice is this?
Why am I so bothered by that too? And it's like, that's awkward. But
These
I'm
is-
like,
Well,
No,
because
that's
we
awareness.
internalize all the stuff, even if we don't believe it.
You
It's
wanna be
still
good girl.
internalized
Yeah.
inside of us.
It comes
That
to
we're not
us.
supposed to do that, and
Yeah.
it is illegal.
And it's not, and women can't, and men can. That's just how it is.
right.
Yeah.
That's how my
It
mom
all
says. She's like,
came
it's
up.
just how it is,
Yeah.
and if you think that's different, you should move to Africa. That's what she said.
Oh, Lord almighty.
I love that Africa's still this like dump place
That's
where we
where
can
they have the
put
boobs
all the
out.
weird
Yeah, in
ideas that
Africa.
we don't understand in America. We can
Just
dump it in
Put it
Africa.
out. Just go to Africa. Woo! Jeez, mom.
Mom.
Jeez, mom.
That was
I love
not a
that
good
she did
argument.
pull out. I wish you would
I've never
record
heard her
it
so
because
fired up.
everything. I
a
mean,
good
She
sound.
pulled it all
the
out.
things.
The Bible says to be modest. Your husband's supposed to look at your boobs. Apparently, I'm a
Only-
virgin.
Said
I'm,
something about
apparently,
your
I'm a
soul,
35-year-old
didn't she?
virgin.
Didn't she bring up the
Oh well,
soul?
at the basis, again, God bless my mom's heart, is that she thinks, because there's some verse in the Bible where you're like responsible to raise your children to like go to heaven or be Christian, or there's something like that. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah.
so
Worry about
she
her soul.
carries
Yeah.
a lot of guilt about like, she goes, and I'm responsible. She was saying something, she's like, I don't care about that, Amanda. I care about your soul.
Whoa.
And if you're gonna be in
Them's
heaven,
big guns.
and
I was like, this one's already off the list. I mean,
Yeah,
long time
I
ago.
don't know.
yeah, that's what was funny. I was like, this is
That's
nothing compared to
already-
like all the other things that aren't getting me into heaven.
I know.
In a good way.
In a good way.
I'm like, oh man. I was like, I really think, and my family's going through a lot of like traumatic stuff right now with like wars between people and all these like really kind of dark, gossipy, real shitty things. And I was like, this is the least of our family's worries.
But
dude.
you find a scapegoat.
I know, and
find
I'm
something.
you know what?
It's
I'll
easier
gladly
for
be
them
that.
to like rally behind that.
Yeah.
In some ways, it kind of unites your family a little bit.
So you're welcome.
I know.
You
I
actually
know.
did a little public service with your teddies.
I know.
Good job.
They're like, we can continue to ignore all of our problems, and Amanda's boobs will be the topic of the
I
week.
don't mind.
There we go. Everything's
Taking
perfect
it for
other
the
than
team.
those boobies.
She's crazy. We're fine.
Great.
I've been so denying this summer ending, but what's cool is this legacy carries on. What we've learned here, what we've gone through, what we've healed, what we've let go, what we've adopted is we're all in our next newest incarnation, and we're shoot forward with the calmness of nature, the heat of the sun, the clarity of owning who we are.
Truly who you are.
Remembering what community feels like. Not just like, we think in our head, friends should do this, but what it feels like. And carrying that forward. Yeah. It's going to attract
and knowing
all
how
the best.
And what you're saying even about the dance, like we have this now, like this will reverberate into all of our relationships and all of our lives.
And all of our generations. I saw that on LSD. Like, this is helping everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Good work,
and the
girls.
more we be
Good
ourselves,
work.
the more
Good camping work.
More it allows
it was a tough job, but we're not afraid to do it. Camp for a
I'd do
month.
it again, guys.
I'd do it again for you.
Really difficult summer of just like not working and camping. It's been really hard.
Dancing and even our city times were beautiful. We went to Maceo Parker and danced. We danced.
Yeah.
If we weren't camping, we were dancing.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
It's either hiking or dancing.
And healing.
And healing. Which is what those things are.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Healing's supposed to
Clearing
be
stuff out.
beautiful and fun and difficult at times, but like you better be doing your healing in like a beautiful, awesome place.
You better be having a really beautiful time so that when the thing kicks up that you need it to heal and it's heavy and big, that you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Because
and also that you have like a storage place of like
yes.
good feelings and you're grounded and you've
A
done the
reserve.
work and you're like, okay, this is the time where I really needed this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you lay the groundwork for the hard times and the good times, you know, that happen.
You get a reserve, a store of good
get a
energy,
store
a
of good
store of
energy.
strength.
You're like, I can do this. I've done this before. I can
and you
do
remember
this.
and you write it in a journal so that you can come back to it. Because we
Yeah.
can come back to this summer now. Anytime.
I know. It's like a totem.
Yeah.
It's really
I'm ready
cool.
to push some boundaries, girls, when I go back to
Yeah, we all are.
We all
and do the
are.
stuff we really believe
Y'all better
in.
watch out. The pistols just had a retreat.
And it's funny because we all believe in like very different stuff, which is cool. We're all going off in like in our stuff that we feel the most calling of, you know, that are related but different.
Yeah, which
I
of
feel
course.
like kind of like a summit where we're all like about to like take off into
Yeah.
different lands, and it's like you're gonna
remember
be
this.
delving more into meditation. You're
Yeah.
gonna be doing plant medicine. And I'm gonna be start going to more like shamanic roots of my own.
Yeah, and just start doing them.
Yeah.
Seriously, like get a drum.
And then
Do a
meeting
thing.
in January in
I know,
Ecuador.
in Ecuador.
Yep, in the south to have yet another
Oh,
summit and like a
and
reconnect.
get that condor spirit.
That's gonna be cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm so interested in that. I'm ready for our condor spirits.
Which
to
also
meet on
includes
fly.
a shit ton of nature,
Like
might I
a
mention.
flaming
Even more.
golden hawk.
Tons of nature.
I can't wait till we
All
meet
right,
again.
guys. Well,
again.
thanks for sharing in us
Thank
with
you,
our
crowd.
all
Jess,
of our
thanks for coming on the
Oh,
show.
thank you
This is
guys. I
a
love
So
literal
much
dream
fun.
come
I
true.
love you too.
Yeah, love you.
I'm so happy it happened.
Till January.
Bye, guys. Till next time.